It's already 110 in the summer, and if it gets 1 degree hotter, I'm gonna kick your ass.
When I talk to my friends about perfect episodes of television, I can't resist bringing up King of the Hill's pilot. It's probably one of my most rewatched episodes of anything, and yet it still hits every time. And although it's of its time, with references to George Bush and Seinfeld and the cold open, there's something about it that still feels timeless. The nighttime King of the Hill, Simpsons, and Futurama block on Fox 59 was a staple of the 2000s, and watching it with my dad remains one of my favorite childhood memories. Today, I want to talk about why I love this episode, how it successfully set up for the series, and what can be learned from its writing. King of the Hill premiered in 1997 on Fox. It was created by Mike Judge while he was working on Beavis and Butthead for MTV. His writing emphasized political humor, as Hank's more traditional values clashed with a changing socio-political landscape. Fox was unsure if Judge's concept was viable, so they brought in experienced Simpsons writer Greg Daniels. Daniels reworked the characters to be less stereotypical, made Dale a conspiracy theorist, and created Luann and Cotton. He also made the characters more sympathetic to humanize the political themes of the series. After these revisions, Mike Judge was so pleased he actually gave Daniels co-creator credit. The series centers on Hank Hill, his family, and his neighbors, who live in a fictional Texas city called Arlen, based off of a suburb Mike Judge had lived in called Garland. The network actually insisted that the series lack character development and story arcs in order to be aired out of order in syndication, but Judge and Daniels incorporated character background and arcs into the series regardless. The series opens on a shot of the Arlen water tower, panning down to Hank and his friends having a beer and speculating what's wrong with Hank's truck. It's only 2 minutes, but it makes the location and the values of the characters clear from the get-go. After the cold open banter and theme song, the first scene we see is Hank trying to relate to Bobby by listening to his new music. It fails spectacularly, and their interaction ends with one of the most famous phrases from the show.
That boy ain't right.
And though this is a line so funny, it still gets referenced regularly. If we put on our AP Lit hats for a second, it's actually setting up the emotional through line of the entire show. Hank Hill is presented as a dad who values classic dad stuff: grilling, practicality, routine, and traditional masculinity. After a lifetime of believing he'd never have a kid due to a medical condition,
We would have liked to have more kids, but Hank has a narrow urethra.
Peggy,
his only son was born, his pride and joy. But Bobby is a child unaffected by the roles society expects of adult men. He doesn't exist within the confines of traditional masculinity. He's not good at sports, he's openly affectionate, and comfortable with aspects of himself that might be attributed to femininity. This puts Hank at odds with his son. Being a dad is nothing like he expected. At the same time, Hank's parenting is informed by his relationship with his own father, Cotton, which, in summary, was neglectful and abusive until Cotton's end. After a lifetime of torment and emotional estrangement from his father, and despite his limited range of emotional expression, Hank doesn't want his son to grow up having that same experience. All of this context informing Hank's character makes the challenge presented in this episode a perfect way to set up the entire series. While bringing Bobby through various experiences that a dad might expect to have with his son, a baseball game, a hardware store, Bobby gets a black eye, and a scenario is set up allowing women in town to misinterpret the situation and report Hank to Child Protective Services, bringing a social worker to their house. For a man who loves his wife so dearly and takes so much pride in his only son, having their home life investigated and being accused of hurting them both is one of the worst things that could happen to Hank. And due to his upbringing and never receiving love in the way a child should, Hank struggles to communicate his feelings with words and instead channels it into gestures. So having that love that he already struggles to surface questioned by an external authority who knows nothing about how their family operates is the perfect insult. After the CPS worker leaves, Bobby is up to trouble constantly, pushing the boundaries of what he can get away with. Responding to these situations with therapy speak is completely unnatural for Hank, but we see him actually trying to use his words and change his communication style. At this point, Peggy finds out the CPS case is closed and asks Hank to express his unconditional love for Bobby, and Hank acknowledges that his father has made that sort of thing hard for him. There are two things that make this CPS plot work well for King of the Hill, when in any other show it might seem too heavy. The first is that the CPS worker's case is bolstered by a series of actual hijinks, relieving the tension for the viewer, giving us a reason to laugh, and enforcing our knowledge that no abuse is going on in the household. The second is that it introduces the emotional core of what, on the surface, seems like a simple slice-of-life family comedy. Looking at the series from a bird's eye view, the arc of the show is Hank learning to love Bobby in a way that he understands, a way that meets him where he's at instead of forcing him into a box. And in return, Bobby learns over time that his dad's love is unwavering, even if it's not expressed how he might expect. Here in the pilot, the CPS visit forces Hank to break his normal patterns and the conditioning from his father, and verbalize his love for his son. It's awkward and unrehearsed, but it opens the door for them to better connect over the next few years depicted in the series. The pilot doesn't close out with a big gesture or a huge change in behavior, just an honest conversation that allows Hank and Bobby to get on the same page, laying the groundwork for them to build their relationship over the next few years. And although Hank had trouble articulating his feelings about his son in episode 1, 14 seasons later, his pride for his son in that final scene that makes me cry couldn't be more evident. The love that was there from the beginning is finally expressed openly, because Hank accepts and loves his son for exactly who he is. And Bobby gets to have the relationship with his father that Hank missed out on, ending the cycle.
Hell, if it's a contest on who's the better daddy, you win. I mean, you made Bobby.
I think a lot of people think of King of the Hill as a more passive series, one that you can just throw on in the background for some laughs. And while a random episode never fails to entertain, it's clear that the writers envisioned the emotional landscape of Hank's lineage from the beginning, giving the series its heart and an undercurrent of real love beneath the slice-of-life scenarios. There are many other things this pilot sets up well. Hank's friendships with his neighbors, Peggy being a Spanish teacher, Nancy and John Redcorn, even the social and political environment that they live in. But I wanted to focus in on the most central concept for this video. Although I'd love to walk through every scene of this episode and explain why I love each one so much and think they're so funny, I'm so sick of summary videos being passed off as video essays. The market is oversaturated with hour-long nothing burgers, and that's just never going to be me. There's so much love, so many hilarious and adorable little details, and so much funny dialogue in this pilot. You'd have a much better time watching the episode than hearing me describe it to you. I hope the next time you give it a watch, your appreciation for the writing is a little stronger because of this video. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the gorgeous traditional art in this series. You guys know I love cell animation more than anything, and the desaturated colors suit their environment so well, and it's just a joy to look at. The King of the Hill cast are some of the most endearing characters in adult animation, and I enjoyed spending some time with them in anticipation of the revival. If Peggy Hill gets 1 degree hotter, I'm gonna kick Mike Judge's ass. Thanks for watching. Hi, it's been a while since we saw each other. In fact, it's pretty much been a year since I uploaded a video. So I know it might be kind of shocking to see me back on the channel, but I have missed this very much. I have missed interacting with you, reading your comments, talking about our favorite TV shows and movies, and I don't know how often I'm gonna be making video essays, but I just wanted to make one to celebrate the King of the Hill revival and to say that I'm still here, still thinking about media, still analyzing it, and would like to do this when I can, when there's a topic that interests me. So if you watched all the way to the end and you're seeing this, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm in a much better place than I was last time you saw me on this channel. And I'm doing a bunch of other fun things on the internet, in different places, mostly having to do with music that I will link in the description and put in the outro. Yeah. Bye.